What is the Canon G9X Mark II? The Canon PowerShot G9X Mark II is a slim, pocketable compact camera with a 20MP 1-inch sensor and 28 to 84mm equivalent lens. It combines enthusiast-friendly manual control with heavily touchscreen-driven operation, and costs £449. Once upon a time, Canon was the undisputed market leader in compact cameras for serious photographers. In 2012, however, Sony turned the market upside down with its CyberShot DSCR-X100. The first camera with a 1-inch, 20MP sensor, it completely redefined expectations for the image quality obtainable from compact cameras. Canon was the first manufacturer to challenge Sony in this new sector, but its early models including the original PowerShot G9X used seriously underpowered processors. However, now the firm has adopted its latest, much faster Digic 7 processor, which promises to turn the updated Mark II version into a much more attractive option. Canon G9X Mark II features. In most respects, the G9X2 offers the same feature set as its predecessor. It's built around a 20.2 million pixel 1-inch sensor that offers a sensitivity range of ISO 125 to 12,800, with images recorded in both JPEG and RAW formats. A full complement of exposure modes is available, accessed from a top plate dial. Enthusiast photographers can select from the usual program, shutter priority, aperture priority and manual modes, while a large array of scene modes and full auto mode cater for the needs of novices. Continuous shooting is available at a shade over 8 frames per second, with a very healthy 38-frame buffer when shooting in JPEG, or 21 frames in RAW. Compared to the G9X, which achieved less than 1 FPS in RAW, this is a massive improvement. High-speed shooting isn't necessarily a big deal on this kind of short-zoom pocket camera, but it's a pointer to the increased performance of the Digic 7 processor. The G9X2 can record Full HD video, and a dedicated movie position on the top dial allows you to take full manual control if you want. It's possible to zoom and refocus the lens during recording, and the touchscreen can be used to adjust exposure settings as well, so no button or dial clicking spoils your soundtrack. But if you're likely to shoot a lot of video, it's worth looking at 4K capable alternatives such as the Panasonic Lumix DCL-X15. In an unheralded but very welcome change, Canon has updated the Mark II's interface and menus to match its EOS DSLRs. So it now gains the same image processing options, including the firm's picture style color modes alongside its highlight tone priority and auto lighting optimizer tonality controls. Crucially, this means that if you want to shoot RAW, you don't get locked into the default JPEG processing settings, but instead retain full control over the camera's color output. In-camera RAW conversion also allows you to tweak your images after shooting before sharing them. Naturally, Wi-Fi connectivity is built in, with Canon providing plenty of functionality. The camera can be connected to a smartphone or tablet for sharing images, and there's even a dedicated button on the side of the camera for this purpose. But it's also possible to control the camera remotely from your phone, transfer images between Canon cameras, or print directly to a Wi-Fi enabled printer using Canon's free Camera Connect app for Android and iOS. Canon G9X Mark II, build and handling. In terms of design, Canon has made barely any changes. A predominantly metal body shell and milled metal dials make the G9X2 feel robust and well made, and it looks good too, with subtle red accents around the mode dial and shutter button adding a touch of class. However, its hard plastic grips are a letdown, and while their textured finish provides a secure hold, I can't help but think that a softer leatherette finish would have been more in keeping with the camera's premium styling. The G9X2 also inherits its predecessor's control layout, meaning that it's a very different proposition to its more enthusiast-oriented sibling, the G7X Mark II. It still has a lovely tactile control dial around the lens, but you won't find a conventional dial or D-pad on the back of the camera. Instead, there's just a simple column of 4 buttons that control video recording, access the camera's settings and menus, and change the on-screen information display. Almost all shooting settings are controlled using the round lens dial in conjunction with the touch screen. Main exposure settings, shutter speed, aperture, ISO and exposure compensation, are selected by tapping their own on-screen touch buttons, then changed by rotating the lens dial. Pressing the Q button on the camera's back accesses an array of secondary shooting settings, which can be changed either by touch or using the dial. Other on-screen buttons are used to lock the exposure, activate manual focus or turn on the touch shutter control. However, these are quite small and closely spaced, so it's all too easy to hit the wrong one. On the whole, this approach does a good job of placing lots of control at your fingertips, while keeping the camera small and approachable to novice users. But it's a very different experience to using conventional physical controls, and I can't say I particularly warm to it. It's fine for mainly point-and-shoot operation, but I suspect anyone who changes settings frequently will prefer the PowerShot G9X Mark II. Playing back your images also makes full use of the touch screen, giving a distinctly smartphone-like experience. Pressing the Q button gives access to a range of editing options, including cropping, resizing and applying image processing creative filters. However, the lack of a physical delete button makes calling your failures as